Away we go with another edition of Weather for Weather Geeks. It's the Valley's most in-depth weather video. This is the video that takes a deep dive into our past weather, our present weather, our future weather, and certainly I can get into a lot more detail than I can ever get to on TV. So let's get right to it this evening, and I want to start with temperatures before we get to today's storms. Our heat wave was officially interrupted today because the airport only got to 89. The thunderstorms that rolled through Trumbull County earlier on today did cut short the warming trajectory of the temperature at the Youngstown Warren Airport. So officially the heat wave ended at 3 days, even though for all intents and purposes, it continued today. It was higher than 90 in a lot of places today, and certainly the heat index was above 90 in a lot of the valley earlier on today. But, you know, we keep official records here, and officially our heat wave will be a 3-day event this time, and no longer than that. All right, storms popped up again today as we got into the afternoon. These were primarily focused, the worst of it was in Trumbull County. We had some downpours in parts of Mercer County, and we had some dinnertime downpours in parts of Mahoning County. But Trumbull County was where the heaviest action was. We had some damage up here. I want to kind of rewind to about 3 o'clock or so this afternoon. This is the storm that caused a lot of problems with some downed trees and power lines down, and up to 2,500 homes and businesses were without power for a time up here in Trumbull County. This is when it was really going to town, around Warren and down towards Niles, and kind of between Niles and Howland earlier on today. This is where the worst of the weather in the entire viewing area was. The wind, I didn't see much evidence of super strong winds. Let me bring up the Cleveland wind velocities here, and I'll rewind this to right around 3 o'clock or so. Right here we might have had a brief period where the wind was pretty nasty, but it was brief. A little dark or light green showing up there. I suspect there was some brief wind here that caused some problems, and I also suspect that there were some lightning strikes that caused some of these problems up in Trumbull County earlier on today. The rain was heavy where it came down. These storms have had very little wind, both at the ground and especially, and more importantly, aloft, to push them along. So they just sort of parked for a while. And here's some Doppler radar estimates. We'll start with that evening downpour in Mahoning County. This is right over Mill Creek Park for a while, and a Doppler radar estimate there of 0.7. And of course it was worse up in Trumbull County. Probably some localized areas here got upwards of an inch or so worth of rain. Brookfield in particular got hit pretty hard. I've seen some pictures and video. Thanks to everyone for sending those in on social media from the Brookfield area, showing a lot of standing water earlier on today. All right, our heat becomes the story once again for the 4th of July. A lot of hot weather alerts for the holiday tomorrow, including heat advisories for parts of Ohio, heat watches and warnings for the big cities along the East Coast, and then even as nearby as southern Ohio, some heat watches and warnings down there. Whether you're under heat advisory tomorrow or not, it doesn't matter. It's going to be hot everywhere. And part of the problem, of course, is these very high dew points. I mean, dew point is 75 right now in Youngstown. But look off to the north. It's not that far away. Some drier air, and that's what's heading our way finally as we go into Friday evening into the weekend. Look how dry the air is over parts of the Rockies, as you would expect, but that's also where some of our air is coming from by the weekend. Again, the problem is going to be where thunderstorms pop up, and a lot of places won't have thunderstorms, but where they do pop up, they're not going to move much. So you're going to have a day like today where, over the course of a couple of miles, you can go from sunny to a torrential downpour that sits there for half an hour and causes some localized problems. This is the wind field up at 5,000 feet. Not exactly a jet stream level, but, high enough in the air that a lot of times we see some stronger winds at that level, and there's hardly a breath of air. And that'll be the case at the ground at 5,000 feet, even as high as 10 or 15,000 feet. There's just not much wind aloft to steer these things along tomorrow. So it's going to be a day just like today where there's no telling where this stuff is going to decide to pop. It's going to be random, hit or miss. This will be especially important, of course, for 4th of July parades and, of course, the fireworks coming up tomorrow evening. I do think that there, much like today, will be a diurnal trend in this, in that the thunderstorms will peak in coverage and intensity around the same time they did today, mid-afternoon, and then start to wane as we head towards evening. That is good news for the fireworks tomorrow evening. So our hour-by-hour rain chances look like this, peaking between, say, 3 and 6, and then decreasing as we get closer to sunset on your 4th of July. So the start of the fireworks here in downtown Youngstown, of course, probably between 9:30 and 10. I think 9:30 is about when they usually start, but nonetheless, it'll be warm, it'll be humid, and there'll be hardly any breeze. 80 degrees with a lack of a breeze and a little small minor inversion, temperature inversion aloft. I would expect some of the smoke from the fireworks to kind of lurk and linger for a while, be kind of hazy. And just prepare for a very, very steamy 4th of July. Not as steamy as 1897 when it was 99, but warmer than the last 5 years, that is for sure. It'll be our hottest 4th since 2012. We've had measurable precipitation on the 4th each of the last 2 years. A couple of really nice holidays back in 2014 and 2015 with comfortable mornings and very comfortable afternoons as well. So, a hot one tomorrow. Heat index values tomorrow will be sort of like today when it's not raining. Heat index values will be well up into the 90s. Maybe even a little worse than today. I think it could be even hotter as far as the actual air temperatures and the heat index tomorrow afternoon when compared to today. But we're splitting hairs. A degree or two here and there is not going to make much of a difference. It is hot, and you've got to be prepared for that. Whether you're having a picnic or celebrating outdoors, cookouts, you name it, just be ready for the heat. And be ready for an unsettled day coming up on Thursday. I think Thursday is probably more active. I think Thursday, it's probably not confined to just the afternoon. I could see where storms try to pop before the morning is through on Thursday. And again, while there's a little bit more of a breeze aloft on Thursday, there's not much. And the atmospheric column here at the ground up quite high will be very juicy on Thursday. So I think flash flooding is still going to be a concern across the area on Thursday. Localized torrential downpours could cause some localized problems. Well, we'll see that chance for rain into Thursday night, first thing Friday morning, but the timing on Friday's front is nice. It'll be out of here pretty early, and wow, what an evening it's going to be on Friday. As this drier air pushes in, it is going to feel so much different at 7 o'clock Friday evening as compared to 7 o'clock in the morning. It is going to feel just fantastic. It's hard at this time of the year to get a clean sweep front like this where there's a distinct air mass change. It doesn't happen often during the middle of summer, but that's certainly what's going to occur this time. High pressure just off to our east this weekend. I can't say enough about how nice the weekend weather is going to be. I mean, there won't be a cloud in the sky, and just dew points so nice that you have no excuse, unless you have a job that keeps you indoors. If you can get outdoors over the weekend, do it. It's going to be just great. Just perfect on Saturday and Sunday with dew points rock bottom by July standards. All right, we are in the middle of another fairly unsettled period. A lot of people are unhappy with how much rain we've had at times so far this season, both spring and summer. Pattern looks a little bit drier as we go into the medium range here, so this takes us through the beginning of next week through the following weekend. Is it going to rain at any point through that period? Sure. But it doesn't look like a particularly wet period. In fact, there's a chance that we may end up with a little bit below average precipitation in that 6 to 10 day period, and that would be good news for a lot of people. We've had plentiful rain. We're in no danger of going into a drought anytime soon, and a nice dry period would be welcome for a lot of us. That's tonight's Weather for Weather Geeks. Thanks for tuning in. I'll have a special edition, a 4th of July edition of this video tomorrow evening. We'll talk about the fireworks forecast. We'll get into some of the science behind smoke dispersal and some of what goes on in the atmosphere that kind of determines how fast the smoke from the fireworks can be dispersed, and we'll get a little geeky with that. And we'll talk more about the longer range on the holiday edition of Weather for Weather Geeks. If you have tomorrow off, enjoy the day, stay cool, and again, if you're going to be outside, stay safe.